The case of cocaine in the West Wing plot thickens. Tampons for men. And will Trump be at the Republican primary debate in August? All of this and more on Speechless, The Daily Show. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Speechless, The Daily Show. I'm your host, Phares. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today, Friday, July 7th, it's going to be a beautiful weekend here. I have a wedding to go to. I'm very excited. But first, before we get into the case of the cocaine, I want to make sure that you guys all remember to like, subscribe, and share this video. Remember, I love doing this for you guys, and I want to make sure that we can get these stories, the stories that are not necessarily being covered by the national media, at least not in this light, get to everybody. So like, subscribe, share, and let me know what you're thinking about all of this stuff in the comments. But let's get right down to it. I'm sure all of you heard, if you've been following my page at all, about the cocaine in the West Wing. And so the latest version of the story, because remember, it's been changing, is that the drugs are now being found in the White House's West Executive entrance near the Situation Room. From the Daily Wire, that entrance lies within the secure campus of the White House between the West Wing and the Eisenhower Executive Office building. Senior staff parks in that lot. So originally it was in the library, and then all of a sudden it was in some other room off of the West Wing, maybe, not totally sure. Yeah, it's consistently been a changing story. It's always been changing, but senior staff parks right by this lot. And so as Dan Bongino said on Twitter the other day, there is no way anybody else could possibly have gotten cocaine into the White House unless it was a family member or a member of the executive cabinet. Vice President Kamala Harris and her motorcade stages in that same area as well. Most of the people who enter there have hard passes, which means they have undergone a Secret Service background check to be credentialed. Sure, a hard pass holder might usher in a small group of visitors and view parts for the West Wing from time to time. But the names of every single person who goes through that entrance and goes through that area is on a visitor log. Not to mention the fact that this is a heavily secure area. They have security cameras all over that entrance and everywhere else, and Secret Service galore. They're all over. So the fact that we do not know whose cocaine this is yet, that we don't know, is on purpose. It's absolutely true. Well, in fact, actually, people within the press community have been consistently asked about this, including a assistant deputy press secretary, in which he said that he couldn't answer questions about it because of the quote unquote Hatch Act. Yeah, let's listen to him real quick talk just about that.
One more, former President Trump has made some pretty wild posts recently on social media. One of them was that the cocaine found in the White House had belonged to either the president or his son. Are you willing to say that that's not the case, that they don't belong to them?
I don't have a response to that because we have to be careful about the Hatch Act. What I will say is that I have noticed there does seem to be some increasing frustration coming from that corner in general. And I think it is probably rooted in the contrast between their substantive policy records.
So it's all because of the Hatch Act. He can't really comment on this. Well, according to the Federal Office of Special Counsel, the Hatch Act, because you probably don't know what it is. A lot of people don't, and I don't blame you. But the Hatch Act is a federal law passed in 1939 that limits certain political activities of federal employees, as well as some state, DC, and local government employees who work in connection with federally funded programs. The law purposes are to ensure that federal programs are administered in a nonpartisan fashion. So basically, the entire idea of this act is to say that if you are working on a campaign, you cannot use federal funding or any federal resources for that campaign. It's why oftentimes a president running for re-election has talks about his re-election campaign within his residence quarters. What does that have to do with the cocaine? Why is this mid-level Biden employee invoking the Hatch Act when asked about the cocaine? Does it have something to do with Biden's re-election campaign? Is that what the cocaine's for? Maybe Biden needs that extra little boost when he's going through everything and going through re-election stuff? Maybe. Look, now, like I said, I don't expect the average person to understand the Hatch Act. Why would you need to? You're not working for the government. But I'm willing to bet that this assistant deputy press secretary, Andrew Bates, thought the exact same thing. You probably don't know what that is. So he figured, like many other Democrats, that he'd use a moderately complex piece of political jargon to get out of a simple question because he thinks we are stupid. He figured he can dodge this entire questioning and line of questioning because he thinks that the American people are just going to sit back and say, oh, well, I guess he can't talk about it. He thinks we're stupid. Joe Biden thinks we're stupid. Democrats think we're stupid, but we're not. We'll look into it and we'll pull it out. They think we're stupid, everybody. And all of that said, there are still tons of questions surrounding this controversy. An interesting twist, White House allies dismissed the scandal, the cocaine scandal, as GOP fodder and, quote, political BS. Out of Fox News, allies of the Biden administration fumed at reports on cocaine found in the White House over the holiday weekend, calling the flurry of media attention political BS. They also expressed how this unusual situation is frustrating. Oh, poor you. A serious drug, a hard drug was found in the White House, and it's frustrating for you to be around it. Poor you. That's the people's house, everybody. We deserve to know exactly what's going on with that. And the White House is just saying it's all Republicans' fault. And apparently, it's just Republican fodder. Well, Republicans aren't treating it as just media fodder, as that insider had suggested. Out of the Daily Wire, Representative James Comer announced on Friday that the White House Committee on Oversight and Accountability would be investigating the circumstances surrounding the discovery of the cocaine found at the White House. Comer, chair of the committee, announced his intentions to investigate the incident in a letter to Secret Service Director Kimberly Chattel. He said, this alarming development requires the committee to assess White House security practices and determine whose failures led to an evacuation of the building and finding of the illegal substance. He continued, the presence of illegal drugs in the White House is unacceptable and a shameful moment in White House history. Congress funds White House security procedures, and the Secret Service has a responsibility to maintain effective safety protocols. This incident and eventually evacuation of staff now clearly raises concerns about the level of security maintained at the White House, and it does. And so when I first started covering this story back on like Monday, I said a few things that have since been proven wrong. And so it's my duty as a person and as a opinion reporter who values honesty to correct those wrongs. The first is I said the cocaine was likely any person was belonged to pretty much any person who may have passed through the reported heavily trafficked area. Well, it's come to light that cocaine was found in a less trafficked area than originally reported, particularly near an executive entrance. So I'm telling you now, originally I had said the chances of this being Hunter Biden's minimal. Funny to think about, but minimal. Now it's a lot higher because the suspect list has drastically decreased and Hunter is still on it. So is Kamala, and so are a few others. But the biggest point of all this, and I have a few other stories to get to, and I have a guest to bring on. I'm very excited for that. But the point of this whole story isn't really even the cocaine itself. It's the vague and seemingly dishonest way the White House is handling it. This last week out of Fox News, they reported in a study that found Biden spokeswoman Karine Jean-Pierre fielded about 217 questions about the classified documents controversy with Biden. Only about 5 of them, or just 2%, were, quote, correctly answered. So 2% of the questions asked were actually answered by the press secretary. Now, the cocaine scandal seems to be no different than that. Tons of questions, very few answers. And the answers we do get are changing by the day. Every politician talks about restoring transparency to government. Well, does 98% avoidance from questions to the White House press secretary sound like transparent government to you? Beg the question when you're at your next congressional campaign event. Ask your future congressman. Does 98% avoidance sound like transparent government? Not to me. But to talk about that and to talk about a lot more, joins me today is my guest, Conservative Cat Petersen, who is the host of you're a host of a lot of things. Why don't you tell everybody just a little bit about yourself, Cat?
Yes. So please follow me on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. I'm there. Conservative Cat, Cities 92.9. I host a morning show from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Monday through Friday. And I host a Saturday show that you can catch Saturdays from 5 to 7. And I do a little bit of reporting out of our newsroom here at the station.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I love Kat. She's basically my boss. So everybody, make sure you go give her a follow on YouTube and everything like that. Subscribe.
I'm taking notes.
Well, I appreciate it. Well, I wanted to start off with this cocaine story. I laid out kind of the new timeline that we have as it's consistently been followed and changed. What are your thoughts on what's going on with this whole whose cocaine is it, Kat? Where was it actually found? Do you have any insight that obviously Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre is not giving us?
So it'd be interesting to take a poll at the grocery store and just ask people where they thought the cocaine was actually found. Because before I heard you say all of that about it being in the West Wing of the executive, it was in a cubby, right? That's
Originally, it was in the library. Then it was in some random room out of the West Wing, and then it was in a cubby, and maybe it was a visitor's, and now it's in an executive.
Most likely
area.
it was in Hunter's butt to begin with. But no. No, most likely that's where it originated from. No, I've heard recently that it was in a room near the Situation Room. And that there is a direct parking deck for the vice president. So
that's
MSNBC
basically what was just said here, is that it was near the Situation Room, but just out of the executive parking lot.
Okay.
So that's what.
Yeah, I have no idea what the floor plan is, and I should probably know and be educated on this. But yeah, I don't know who's cocaine. I mean, logically, it would be. It's definitely not Joe Biden's, because Joe Biden is into sniffing children, not necessarily snorting cocaine. So I don't think it's Joe's. I think they're throwing Kamala Harris underneath the bus here. And they are seemingly supposed to be running for re-election together, and maybe that's not in the cards, and the DNC is trying to boot her out, and this is an easy way. And they're throwing her under the bus to save Hunter Biden's arse for the millionth time.
Yeah, seriously.
Right? They're trying to save Hunter Biden.
What a crazy twist that would be, though, if they literally kick out the sitting. Basically, I mean, they kick her off the ticket for a re-election campaign to save the president's son.
Yeah.
If that's actually what was going on. Obviously, it's all just speculation at this point because they don't give us any answers. But
and is Hunter Biden worth it? I mean, I don't know. If he was my son, I would say, nah. I don't think I would. Kamala is a pretty sucky vice president, but I don't know if I would throw her under the bus for Hunter. I don't think that maybe it's an even trade. I don't know. But I'm curious, and I'm curious what you think about this. What else is going on? Typically with
that's
stories like this.
That's an exact thing I posed that on my show yesterday. What are they hiding? Right?
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, and I said this yesterday, and I went on a longer diatribe, but I'll paraphrase it now just for anybody who didn't watch, is the government consistently lies to us and hides things from us. We were just talking yesterday about how the JFK assassination is only recently understood to have been committed by the CIA. RFK Jr. running for president has confirmed that, as well as it's pretty much well known. Other assassinations, such as Martin Luther King Jr., also have been speculated to have been committed by the federal government. Then we also have, what are they hiding from us when it comes to the UFOs? We have a significant amount of footage that's been leaked that show flying objects that do not seem to follow human-made technology. What is the government hiding from us? And this story follows that same track. Oftentimes they push out different stories to distract us from a bigger picture.
Yeah.
And they will not. And right now, cocaine being found in the White House, massive story. Yes, the White House is trying to blame Republicans and say it's just media fodder, which it's not. That's a big issue. What else is going on behind the scenes?
And it's sexy because it's drugs. Right. So
Yeah.
this is very easy to understand, and you start to see these news stories and see what catches and what doesn't. And then you're like, oh, this is catching because it's sexy. I've had the same speculation surrounding the Bud Light controversy, right?
Yeah.
Was this a much larger effort? Was something like this blown up and blown out of proportion by Bud Light? Is Dylan Mulvaney? I mean, we know that Dylan Mulvaney was visiting with the president prior to this ad being released.
Yeah.
And it makes you question, what was the goal of taking down Bud Light? Bud Light is known to donate to 60%. It's 60-40. They donate to conservative candidates 60% of the time. Not that Bud Light is good. I'm not saying that you should stop the boycott. Hell no. But what I am saying is, was there a larger goal to be met
Yeah.
with this Dylan Mulvaney being hired
Was it a
on as some
distraction?
sort of, was it a distraction? And I don't know, was there something else going on that we didn't really see? I mean, yes, Ukraine conflict, we have what's going on in Ukraine, Russia, and I don't know what else is going on right now. I mean, even the submarine story.
That I felt like that one was a major distraction, especially from Hunter Biden being having his pleading charges that week. Pleading for his charges, but who knows what it is, what they're trying to hide with it. But I do have other stories I want to get to. This is a big one coming out of CBS this morning, I believe yesterday. A Tampons CEO was slammed for saying menstruators instead of the correct term women. She said that these menstruators use her product during an interview on CBS this morning, but in practically the same breath, she also invokes biology. Let's take a quick look at some of these clips from what exactly she had to say on CBS this morning.
Got your back. August got your back. Earlier this year, August announced the sale of its products in more than 400 Target stores nationwide. Wow. Okamoto has been very vocal about ending taxes. Look,
of course, it's Target, by the way, right? That this woke product is in. Let's keep going.
On period products, and she believes
placement there.
Access, I like it, to period care is a basic human right. She joins us now to discuss. Nadia, I'm so excited to see you, to have you. You look great sitting at the table in the orange. I love it.
You.
She was telling me, guys, she got this outfit 2 days ago in London at a vintage store, and it.
Okay, I'm going to skip ahead. That was just the intro. Cut this.
And I want to point out something here. You know how, notice how she's commenting on her attire here. This is the way newsrooms, being that I have been in a few television
and have
rooms.
It's make you.
Yep. Sorry.
What happens, Kevin? These people are so into patting each other on the back. I'm not kidding you. It's gross and it's weird. They're constantly giving each other compliments. They're constantly boosting each other's egos in these places.
Yep.
I just think that this is interesting because it's happening on camera in real time.
Yep.
And usually these conversations happen off camera. And I mean, they get together for all of these award dinners and things like that. I just found that very funny.
No, absolutely. That's something I didn't even catch. And so that's why I wanted to bring you on from the female perspective. But so right here, what we're about to watch is her bringing up biology, not necessarily as it pertains to the actual act of menstruation necessarily. Well, kind of actually. Just watch what she has to say regarding biology.
Because periods make human life possible.
Yes.
It's potentially one of the most natural biological processes of life. And yet history and society has built up this stigma that makes menstruators feel so ashamed.
Yes.
It makes us feel like there's something wrong with our bodies. We're taught that period blood is this contaminable, like disgusting
Dirty,
thing,
nasty.
dirty.
Yes.
And I think that
Well, like
What?
definitionally, it is kind of dirty, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I wouldn't
but I don't
like.
know what she's talking about, Kevin. Okay, from a female perspective, what the hell are you talking about? I have grown up. I had a twin brother growing up. I had a dad, right? I have had men in my life, and no one ever has made me feel like I am a dirty person because I have a period. You know what I mean? Like,
No,
I'm a
I know exactly
grown
what you're
woman.
saying.
Nobody has ever made me feel
Yep.
like it's like something I can't talk about. I choose not to talk about it because it's a bodily function. It's the same reason why, you know, in regular conversation, we don't talk about our boogers, pee, but we're human beings and it happens. It doesn't mean I have enough couth to not talk about my bodily functions, just like I wouldn't tell Kevin about me sweating right now. Like,
Yeah.
He doesn't need to know.
No, exactly. Well, and they talk a little bit in this interview about how it's just like it's perceived as gross, and like at one point, maybe I can find it at some point, but it wasn't the main part. Is the woman in the yellow, one of the hosts? She brings up how she like asked her son to go get her tampons, and he was like, "Ew, that's gross," and she was like, "No, that's wrong. You shouldn't see it that way." And I'm like, "What? No, like."
It's the same thing as if like you were gonna ask somebody to go get some toilet paper.
Imagine
right?
if I asked my mom to go get me condoms or like something like that.
Yeah, like no.
Like how uncomfortable would that be? That's
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
Yeah,
That's
but that's like a normal human thing. Sex is a normal human thing. And it's just like we all have body functions and like there's time and place. You probably shouldn't be asking your son to go get you some tampons.
exactly. Well, there's that. And then here's the thing though. So she references at the beginning of that last clip about how it's
They live in a
biological,
totally
right?
different
And they
world.
care about the biology of it, right? Well, let's see what she has to say a little bit later in the interview when talking about the inclusivity of her tampons.
Some pads, if you must know. Yeah.
but August to me is the result of spending years in the space identifying pain points, whether they be around sustainability. Like I grew up hating pads. Most pads have enough plastic for like 3 to 5 plastic bags, right?
Yeah.
So very scratchy, very uncomfortable, but also wanting a period positive, gender inclusive brand. So we are August, wanting a gender inclusive name. On the back, it says we're here for everyone who menstruates. And I think especially in this age of transphobia, it really means a lot to us to be proudly a gender inclusive brand. But everything about the product we try to be super thoughtful about, from how we design it to be as comfortable, as absorbent as possible.
So it's a gender inclusive. What other genders do they need to be inclusive of?
Men, I don't know, men with, I'd imagine she's talking to people who have female anatomy,
That
right?
pretend to be pretend to be men. Yeah.
Yes.
And then-
the
and then-
mental gymnastics here. What are you
Mhm.
even talking about? I don't and then she goes into the plastics. I don't know any woman, right? Maybe you don't like wearing a plaid, that's fine, or whatever. But I don't know any woman who, is like, yeah, we want something super comfortable. Like you're uncomfortable for, a few days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's just the way it goes. And it's just like this whole idea of including people in on is offensive.
Mhm.
It's very offensive. You're including men in on something. You're trying to cater to women as if like we're these precious little pansies who can't take care of our own period, or, oh, God forbid my pad has extra plastic in it. Like, I don't care. It's something that happens to me and I can take care of it. I am a grown woman. That's the whole point, right? When you have your period, that's an indicator that you are an adult. Like you are and old enough to take care of yourself, and you're old enough to take care of your hygiene. And it's just like, it's just they're so far removed from reality. And this is them pretending to understand a true female experience. Like they don't have a true, these people probably don't have true female experiences.
Can you dive into that a little bit more? What
So
like
she's
what is
talking
emblematic of a true female experience?
She's talking about, the plastic in her period or in her pads and
Yeah.
things like that. That is not something you have time for when you're on your period. I work, right? I go to work while I'm on my period. I have to think about eating healthier. I eat a lot of spinach when I'm on my period, right? Because it's good for your iron. You're constantly cold and you have all of these different emotions inside of you.
Yeah.
Hormones and things like that. And you have to try to control those. And you don't have time to sit there and think about the plastic in your pad. Never has that ever come across any female's mind, ever. And making it more inclusive for women who think that they're men, or for all of these other genders, nobody cares. Nobody cares. It's almost like like maybe your gender is important, or your sex is important to your family, to your spouse, but I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care what you think you are. I care about me. I care about taking care of my hygiene. I care about, when should I take my next Tylenol? And I'm, doing work. I have to go to work and I'm like, okay, I've got to go to the bathroom here. I'm thinking about that stuff. I'm not thinking about the plastic inside of my like that's just so bizarre.
Yeah.
And like when she says it out loud, she doesn't think that that's weird. And that's what's concerning. Like no woman has ever sat there and said, I really wish my pad just had less plastic in it. What the
wouldn't function be like the most important thing to you? Maybe a few other things like cost and stuff like that wouldn't function.
Cost, things like that. Although it's all very comparable, and like I just kind of grabbed the brand that's the cheapest.
And I want to talk about that, the cheapest, because she brings up her interview in which, when it comes to cost, she talks about this thing called period poverty and explains it a little bit. So let's listen to that.
But when I was 16, I learned about period poverty through conversations I had with homeless women and my own research, and heard these stories of people using things like toilet paper, brown paper grocery bags, cardboard to take care of their periods. And at the time in 2014, 40 states in the US had the tampon tax, which is a sales tax on period products, considering them luxury items, like non-essential goods.
Yes.
But products like Rogaine and Viagra are considered medical necessities. So that all the way to other legislation like food stamps don't cover period products as necessities. So I got really interested in period poverty as an issue. And I think in school you're taught that when you find an issue you care about, you find an organization to volunteer with. I was doing the research and couldn't find.
There was an organization.
There wasn't one.
You started one.
What I want to do real quick, though, is before we actually get back into our conversation about it, so she talks about period poverty and how people have to use plastic bags and toilet paper and stuff. And that would be bad if it were true. I have my speculations. I'm going to let Kat talk about that. But first, I want to show everybody. So we're going to pull up her product, August. This is her product on Target's website. So right here, $9.99, and it's a pack of 16. You can see it right there, 16 tampons. Then let's go now to one of the other leading brands, Playtex Sport, which is also listed as
more high-end.
$9.99. And this is a 48 count.
Oh, it's 48.
This is a 24 regular, 24 super.
Oh, I didn't see the supers.
Yep. So you got all that. And then we can even go to another one, Tampax, which is another one I've seen commercials for.
That's the ones I buy, folks. Sorry,
and
TMI.
So, if anybody wants to get Kat a birthday gift, $7.99, right? And this is a pack of 18 regular and 16 super. So you go, let's go back one more time. And so this is the person that's saying that tampons are too expensive. There's a tampon tax. There's a pink tax, and everything is too expensive.
Triple.
Yes,
it's
essentially
not double. It's just
charging
almost triple. I'm not good at math, but my God. I mean, that's almost triple the amount.
16 tampons.
And what? I mean, I'd have to look at it. But
and so that's your cost of not having the plastic and not having all this other crap. And also your cost of that. It's also gender neutral, apparently, as well.
Organic cotton. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I have no idea, but it's just interesting. I wonder what kind of effects that has on things, on your health. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I'm not shocked that it's more money. She talks about period poverty. Never have I ever used a plastic bag, maybe in a crunch, and I didn't know what was it like. And when I was young, right, and I didn't know when my period was coming. It was very irregular when I was a kid. It usually is if you're athletic, and I was crazy into sports, and maybe some toilet paper, right? And it's not like this terrible thing, right? You just have to wrap up some toilet paper and makeshift your own pad. That sucks. It's all a learning curve, and that's the beauty of it. Because now, as a 24-year-old woman, I've had my period for quite some time now. I have tampons in my truck. I have tampons in my purse. I have tampons in my office. I have tampons at my mother's home, my brother's home. It's like I have tampons everywhere, and I'm never without one. And there's something that females have that men don't.
There's a lot of things females have that men don't.
Yeah. This is particularly really fun. Females, and it makes it really hard to have female friendships. This is why I have male friends. Most of them are male friends. I have a couple female friends, but it's very hard to make friendships because females, they're group creatures, because it goes down to, our ancestors and things like that. And females are so tightly knit that they don't mind oversharing. They don't mind approaching other females. And it's kind of why the feminist movement has gotten so big and has turned into what it is, because females, when they get together, it is the most bizarre, strange thing. They start to get very catty, and it's almost like they've known each other their entire lives, because there's just this underlying, you're another female, I'm a female, and we can relate to each other in that alone. We are going to be best friends, and we are going to love each other, like in a certain way, right? like strangers, right? There's a line, but when you meet other females, it's really cool being a female and in business, because business females are totally different. Yeah. When I meet business females, they're very, very much built different. And I can tell right away what kind of job a woman has, just based off of a conversation I have with her, because she's very standoffish and she has more male attributes and she doesn't want to overshare. Yeah. But in the world, right, society, what we do, females, we just go up and we ask somebody for a tampon. That has happened to me before. I've gone up to strangers.
Yeah.
When I was little, I would go up at I was, young girl, you would just go up or you would ask your friend,
Hmm.
right? In high school. That's the only other time. Tampons are super cost effective. Like that is the cheapest thing I buy.
Hmm.
You saw it there. A pack of 48 cost you $10. And to give you some perspective, a pack of 48 tampons probably will last you the entire year, if not 2.
My
So,
gosh. Yeah.
there's 12 months out of the year. You might use, I don't know, let's say 5 a month,
Mhm.
right? That's, or 10 a month. Okay, let's do 10 a month, right?
That's 120. That's 2 boxes,
Two
about
boxes
2
a
to 3
year.
boxes
So
max.
20
So
bucks
20
a
to
month, or
$30 a
20
year.
bucks a year.
$20 to $30 a year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you decide to buy this sustainable, gender inclusive one, then you'll be paying $50 to $100 a year, despite the fact that they want to fight period poverty. Whatever. But I want to move on because there's one more story I wanted to get to, but I'm fascinated with your take on that one. But this next one, so DeSantis, because this is a wild difference, but DeSantis commits to the first GOP presidential primary debate, regardless whether or not Trump is participating. Out of Fox News, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says he will participate in the first Republican presidential nomination debate, regardless of whether former President Donald Trump takes the stage in the August showdown. He said, quote, "I'll be there regardless. I hope everybody who's eligible comes. I think it's an important part of the process, and I look forward to being able to be on the stage and introducing our candidacy and our vision and our leadership to a wide audience." The debate is scheduled for August 23rd in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Will be hosted by Fox News. I'm going to also try to get a live stream going for us so we can comment on and everything here at Cities and on my YouTube. But Trump, who has the commanding lead over pretty much any other GOP candidate based in the polls, sorry, I lost my place. Trump has indicated that both publicly and privately, he might skip the debate, due in part to his large lead over the rest of the field of Republican 2024 contenders. But Trump campaign officials say that the former president has yet to make any final decision on his participation. Trump's aides have also been looking into options for an alternative event should the president skip the debate. Kat, I want to talk with you. I've been pretty open that I am leaning towards DeSantis. You've been pretty open that you are on the Trump train for 2024. What do you think about the possibility? Do you think Trump should take part in this debate? What are your thoughts on either side of it?
I don't know. At this point, if I think that he should participate in the debate. I don't think that it will harm him, right? So I don't see that there is going to be any kind of harm if he participates in the debate. If he doesn't participate in the debate, then I could see a possibility of some harm, not enough to throw him off of his game here. He's very much far ahead. However, I think that Ron DeSantis came out with this news because you're actually going to West Palm Beach.
I am going to West Palm Beach.
So Turning Point USA, the Charlie Kirk has come out on record, and Jack Posobiec has gone out on record and has said that Ron DeSantis in his home state was invited to this event. This is a pretty similar event to something that I've been to in the past.
It's like Student Action Summit kind of stuff. This one is hosted by Turning Point Action, so it's a bit more political than or like Republican political as opposed to Turning Point USA's ideological politics.
Yeah. So, and he was invited, and he did not he responded, and he said that he wasn't going to come.
Okay.
So, that's in your home state. Vivek Ramaswamy is going. This is a lot of conservative pundits and conservative leaders in one area. It's similar to that of a CPAC. So I don't know why he wouldn't go, especially in his home state. It's not a good look. Most likely he's coming out with this news. When did this break?
Just this morning or yesterday, I believe.
Yeah, so most likely he's coming out with this news ahead of that event because he is already hearing backlash from conservatives in the community because he declined to go to that event. Now, it's not a debate type style.
No,
right?
it's people come up on stage and talk. I will say, I agree. I would really like him to be there, and being in his home state, it's a place that he should be. However, I don't know what their campaign is. It could be simply a conflict of campaign scheduling. It will be something to keep an eye on as I'm at that event to see what transpires in terms of the DeSantis camp. One thing I want to gauge your idea on with this is, do you think it would make Trump look weaker if he did not attend the Republic? Because I guarantee you what would happen is if Trump does not attend the Milwaukee debate in August, the DeSantis camp and many of the others because he didn't even show and he won't have a chance to defend himself in terms of some of the things that they would attack him on, they would simply come out and say that he's weak and doesn't have the ability to converse with anybody else.
There's so much going to happen between now and then because there's something going on in California where they're talking about creating almost like a super delegate type system for the Republican side of things.
Gotcha.
So Bernie Sanders, we know, didn't win. And no other Democrat really wins unless they're approved by the DNC. And these are big party leaders who decide who the nominee is going to be, and it's not decided by the voters. And I'm sorry, Democrats, that sucks for you. And I'm really sorry for the Democrat voter because you guys didn't get to pick Bernie. Like
when you wanted to.
When you wanted Bernie.
It was so obvious.
It's because of those super delegates. So right now, the Republican Party, who hosts these debates and are behind all of these debates, could be looking at a super delegate, which is really good for Ron DeSantis. That is where he could possibly become the nominee if the party there in California, let's just be honest here, if they have enough super delegates, he could be the nominee. I'm not going to say that it's not, if this current system that we've got for the party, the RNC, stays in place and we don't go towards a more super delegate type system, and it's a bad thing, folks. Super delegates aren't cool. You don't want to be in a super delegate party because you will never get to decide your primary nominee. Like you don't get to decide your nominee as a voter.
It's the wealthy people that are the delegates themselves that would then decide it. No, I understand where you're coming from. I think there's a road for DeSantis without needing the super delegate system.
So you live in fantasy? No, no. But if that were to happen, him not participating in those debates would be
out of protest.
It would be out of protest.
I still think though,
that's why Trump is waiting, because he wants to see what the party decides there. Harmeet Dillon has been very she's advocating for that not to happen. The RNC moving towards the direction of a super delegate type system.
Yeah.
She's been really trying hard. It's a matter of convincing the California Republican chair, who we sure know as hell is not a Republican. Okay. No California Republican is actually a Republican. Okay?
Kevin McCarthy.
But yeah, so I think that's probably what he's waiting for. In that case, if that were to happen and the party moves that direction, I would say Trump participating in the debates would be a bad move. And I would say, what the hell? Why would you do this? You need to protest this and you need to go essentially run as a Republican, but not.
I understand. I totally understand where you're coming from. I still think no matter what, if he doesn't participate, I think the image, whether or not it's out of protest or anything, I think the image it gives off makes it look kind of petty. Because the way that I see it right now, as everything currently stands, if Trump does not participate in these debates, I think it'll make him not only look weak, just look weak. It doesn't necessarily mean he is, but look weak. But it will also it will kind of push him to a level of ego even higher than it already is, because it makes him look like, well, I'm so good. Everybody's already saying they love me in the polls. We shouldn't even have to have this debate. It makes him look childish in that way, you know? And again, that it's all image based, and that's how politics really is. It doesn't necessarily mean that's actually what he thinks, but that's the image it portrays, you know?
Yeah, I could see that. I don't know. Trump, the more and more Trump is out there in the public eye, it's like, his ego just soars and soars and soars. And I keep thinking to myself, it's going to kill him. It's going to kill him. And then all of a sudden he just does better and better. The more ego this guy has, the better it is. Yeah. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there in California with the superdelegates. So I think that he just needs to wait it out and see. I think that's why he's saying that he won't participate. I don't think it comes down to ego. I think it's solely because the Republican Party is so divided right now, and he doesn't want to participate in RNC activities if they're going to treat him like this and try to pull this super delegate crap.
I can totally understand that. The Republican Party is divided right now. What do you guys think? Do you think that Trump will participate in the debates? What will it look like if he doesn't? Everybody, please make sure to give Kat a follow on YouTube. I have it right up on the screen there. She is a great commentator. You can check out all of her stuff and her daily content on the Morning Buzz and Conservative Cat on Saturdays. Please, please, please also don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and let me know in the comments, what do you think about the Trump stuff, the cocaine, the menstruators, and the expensive tampons that are supposed to cut costs. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. I'll be back on Sunday with my radio show. Thank you for watching, and we'll be back with more Speechless. This was Daily Show.